Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Corona Spotlight 2020. I am your host, Gayle Nicholson, and I am really happy to see you again today. We are still going on this coronavirus quarantine, although it does seem to be like everyone is opening up a little bit more locally. So I'm very, very excited to have this guest that we have with us today. Her name is Eva Vennari. She is a nutrition coach and she's with the Elevate Institute. Now, she's got a technique that I am so excited about, and a lot of other people are as well. So, I want to get right into talking to her today. Hello, Eva. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Gail.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. So tell me a little bit about, if you would, before we get going, what is the Elevate Institute, and how are you a
So,
part of that?
well, it's my company. So just because I was a hot mess many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
uh, riddled with a bunch of what we call invisible illnesses. And I was looking for a natural way to reverse them permanently. And I kept getting told time and time again, there is no such thing. And I found the answers that worked for me, and I'm finding that they're repeatable.
Hmm.
And as a result of finding out that they're repeatable, the Elevate Institute's been founded. And it's basically, if you were to say, it's the structure of the body that determines your vitality and how well you resist things like viruses, bacteria, molds, and etc. So the stronger, more fortified your body is, the better it functions. That's the foundation of the Elevate Institute.
Awesome. That is really succinct, and I love it. It's very clear. All of that. So you've been really watching this COVID-19 and coronavirus situation very closely. I know. And I wanted to ask you, what's the thing about the masks? Because there are so many different schools of thought on it. Um, I've heard that for a healthy person, the masks can be detrimental to your health. And at the same time, we want to be careful in public that we're not walking around, being typhoid Mary. So, what's the good advice on this?
Yes, I like to call it a good framework. So it's like even in my practice, I don't talk about a diet. It's more like a food framework. And if we were to put a framework on the mask idea, there are some understandings about why we're wearing them that make a huge difference so that we're not sitting there going, well, I'm in my car. I should wear them in my car, right? Stop thinking about whether to do or to not do, and think about this in terms of what's useful, what's helpful. How to think about it is what I try to preach, if you will. So when to wear a mask, uh, we're mandated to wear them when we go outside here in Los Angeles. So we don't have a choice. Where you have a choice, um, exercising, you need free breathing in and out. The mask can limit that. There are people who are wearing them and they're causing themselves like asphyxiation. They can't get enough air, so they're passing out from the use of it, overuse of it. But the idea of the mask is to protect you and those around you from the spread, the spread of it, to slow it down. It's not meant to keep you from ever getting it. And the myth that I keep having to go back to is we're supposed to wear it to keep us safe from ever getting the virus. The mask is meant to, and just like social distancing, it's meant to slow down the spread of the disease so that we don't overwhelm the medical facilities and those people who are there working and exposing themselves to it every day. So it's not that you shouldn't ever get it. A healthy immune system, and you're a human being, you're going to be exposed to it at some point. It's like the old school of thought for chickenpox. Uh, Everybody's going to get it. It's like a rite of passage type thing. And healthy immune system, a fortified immune system, will fight it off just fine. The problem is when we are using masks, we have to think about the virus itself, the size of it, how it's spread through the air. And if you're wearing a mask that is a weave of material, that weave needs to be big enough or I should say small enough that I'm going to use my mouse. Here's the mouse is the virus. It can't get through that weave.
Gotcha.
Okay, so microfiber materials work fantastic for this. I read an article that somebody suggested using the, what's that called? The materials in a HEPA filter. And I went, oh, no, don't do that, because the HEPA filter is chemically treated product right here on your face. You're breathing in and out the chemical treatment. That's worse than the virus itself. Now you're getting chemicals into your lungs. Yeah, that you can't, like, even the work that I do can't get rid of it. You're pretty much a goner. So don't do crazy, insane things. And a mask should cover the nose. I see a lot of people wearing it from the ear. They're hanging it down. Like, that's not how you wear a mask. But from the nose.
But their cheek is healthy.
Yeah, right. It's to keep the nose where you have air going in and out of your body. It's the nose and to cover the mouth. The idea is to, when you breathe out, if you have the virus as a carrier, then it's getting caught as you breathe out. As you breathe in, if you're around somebody or in the vicinity where somebody was who had it and they sneezed or whatever, it's in the air, and you breathe in, the mask is going to catch most of it. So it's got to cover here. Mm-hmm. That means bandanas don't work. Period. And it's a matter of really understanding that we're trying to cover this area. Mm-hmm. And protect the in and out passage.
With a seal of some sort, not just deflecting so that the air goes downwards.
Yeah, so I see a lot of people in LA, they've got the goggles with the shield that goes down, but there's no mask underneath, so the air is getting freely right up into the, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So think about what we're trying to achieve with it. When you're alone, when you're in your car, when you're in your home, you don't need it.
By all means, if it is, and it is mandated in your area, please do use it. Do use the proper type and all. As you were talking about that, you said microfiber, and I'm thinking to myself, my gosh, really? I could make masks out of my washcloths. I have these great washcloths.
I have the Norwex cloths for cleaning. I don't use bleach in my home.
Yeah.
And if you're familiar with Norwex, they pick up 99% of bacteria with water. You just get them a little bit wet, you squeeze them out, and now you can wipe down all of your countertops and everything, and you're not breathing in the chlorine. Well, here's the thing about chlorine. You remember World War II? There was something about mustard gas.
Yeah.
Yeah, chlorine is mustard gas when it's into the air. So hot water and chlorine creates mustard gas. That's a carcinogen. Let's not do that.
Wow, I thought I was just a little wuss. I'm like, I can't scrub the tub. No. Yeah. Because the chemicals were just like, but I thought I was just a whiner, honestly.
No, there is such a thing, though. You're going down a really good rabbit hole talking about this. It's like we can develop chemical sensitivities from the overuse of all of these cleaning supplies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's an accumulative effect in the body of chemicals that we're taking in because we're cleaning more, we're wiping things down more. Whenever I go to the market, they're spritzing, the belt, and cleaning their hands with the antibacterial. That doesn't fortify the immune system. It's going to break it down with extended use over time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, and I did see, and don't forget, a lot of people are just sensitive to begin with, right? I walked into the grocery store and they wiped down my cart for me and gave it to me, and I put my hands on the thing and it was soaking wet with this antibacterial whatever they had used, and it was just like, eh. And then I see these pictures of, little kids that are sitting in the seats that they've wiped down, and the backs of their legs are all red and irritated from coming in contact with this really, really harsh chemical that everybody's trying to be protective, but there, like you said, there's side effects of some of this stuff.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that I'm oh gosh, all these ideas just came into my head and then created a collision. So I'm a germaphobe. So for me, it's important that I have a clean space. I don't like bacteria, hanging around. I don't like the idea of touching something somebody else has already touched. I don't go to an extreme. I'm not OCD about it, but some people are. It's just, think about everything that your body is made of. We are what we eat. We're more than that. We are what we sit in, what's this against our skin all day long, we absorb that into the body. So things that don't wash out, like your cleaning supplies, your laundry detergent, your softener, all of that goes right into your body. What we breathe, what we drink, and what we eat, that's all making more you. And if the body, there's no doorman in the body, everything gets let in. It's a party. And when we make more of our body, in this party, we're making more us. Our cells get made overnight, ideally, and we rejuvenate. The body uses whatever is at hand. If you remember MacGyver, the TV show, he made what he needed from whatever was at hand. The body is no different. And then whatever's left over is spit out into our soft tissue. And therein lies the trail of, and of course, the really juicy bits that I get to work with people is like, that remnants, our trash report, if you will. I get to see what's going on with the body, and we can see if a chemical buildup is there or if there's problems with the immune system. So it's all there.
Interesting.
All written.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about immunity and immune systems that are protecting us, because like you said, the body just lets everybody in and it's a party, and then it's got to get sorted out somehow, right?
Yeah.
So there is, let me put it this way. I was raised by a mother who was diabetic and very conscious of nutrition, in that, 3 squares a day. She did the best she could on the budget she had. But, we grew up knowing that nutrition was how we have a strong body, right? It's just, that's the way I grew up. And I recently heard that you can't boost your immunity. You can't help your immunity. And I'm like, this doesn't bear out with my experience. So what's the truth?
Yeah. I mean, if we were to take the energy of somebody who says, "Oh, you can't boost the immune system," first, I want to know who's paying them off to say that. 2, the best pharmacy in the whole world is the one that we come with. And it's true that you can't just all of a sudden take supplements one day and the next day be exposed, literally one day, and then the next day be exposed to something and expect your immune system to be fortified. You were raised in a way where your body created itself over time to be nutritionally sound. That creates automatically that immune system that is boosted. So boosting is not something that can be done like we expect a pharmaceutical drug to perform for us. Oh, immediately, if I have allergies, I'm going to take that allergy pill, and then I should notice no symptoms of my allergies whatsoever. And that's not the way the immune system works. It's accumulative. It is over time. It's it's really a representation of your habits. How well do you take care of yourself? It's very telling. And if you find that, people who say to me, "Eva, I never get sick." Well, that scares me, because that means you're being exposed. You don't live a bubble. We don't live in a bubble. And so we're being exposed to things that can make us sick all the time. And if you never develop a healthy immune system, it can't fight them off. So in other words, you've got viruses, bacteria, molds, parasites banging around in your body, creating inflammation. And the body doesn't have enough vitality to fight it all off. That vitality comes from nutrition. It's mineral balancing is what it comes down to. It's like, do you have the stuff that your body prefers that can make you the strongest to fortify yourself against the world's, issues, including the COVID-19? It is, not to play it down, just a virus. It is a virus just like any other. And what I mean by that is, it's not under a new category. Right. It's not some new type of, not a mold. It's not a bacteria. It's not a parasite. It's a virus. It fits into that category, which means our body should be able to fight it off if it's strong enough. And that's why they're saying, the experts are saying, look, if you have an autoimmune disorder, stay home.
Yeah. Don't
go out. Have people shop for you. Don't allow visitors in. That makes sense to me. But if you're healthy and you get an occasional cold and your body fights it off just fine, chances are your immune system is okay. But it's still an accumulative thing, because even me, I had this. I came down with it back in January, I think it was. It knocked me down for a 3-day weekend. I was in bed and not in the fun way, and I was out. So,
Right.
and then I ended up with that and I thought it was very strange. We hadn't really been educated on what COVID-19 was, the symptoms of it. And so I thought, well, this is strange. I've never lost my sense of smell before. And I did. I remember that very distinctly. And I'm a foodie. I love food. And so to not be able to taste my food as well, I was like, this is a bummer. Is this permanent? And I was glad to have it return after I went through the process of fighting off the bug. So healthy immune systems should absolutely be fighting off a bug. And if you are taking care of your immune system, your total body's health and your vitality, then it is boosted already.
Yes. Now, and I want to point to just for a second that there are many of us in America that have fallen into the pharmaceutical way of life, that may not even realize that some of the medications that our doctors have us on have a side effect of destroying our immune system. So you might think I'm okay, but in fact, for example, I have psoriasis. Now, I could take the prescription for psoriasis, but to be quite honest, that commercial scares the hell out of me. Okay? I would rather continue scratching and itching, even waking up in the middle of the night with, scratching my head, than concern myself with kidney failure or immune, let your doctor know if you've come in contact with TB. Oh my gosh, really? I'll scratch my head, thank you. But but not everybody has that same willingness to go through the pain in the butt of it all. They want the easy fix, and they don't believe that the side effects will ever happen to them. So, go ahead. What do you want to say to that?
Because the side effects are just not thrift upon. They're not in our face. They're not fast enough. My mother used to drink tap water. We don't think of it now. It's unconscionable. We're like, why would you drink tap water? It's full of chlorine and other things that we don't want in it. And gosh, I was 18 when I was exposed to a multi-level marketing company that started selling these water filters for your kitchen, your home, your whole home. It wasn't alkaline water. It was just, carbon filtered, which is fantastic. And
it's like Brita for your sink.
Exactly. Brita for your sink. Brita for your sink. Brita for your shower. You'd be amazed at what it does for your hair by showering in filtered water. Anyways, yeah. And your skin, by the way. Yeah. So so she used to say that she would fill up her water cup at the sink and, drink it down. And I said, Mom, that's not filtered. She's like, it hasn't killed me yet. It took a lifetime. And so we don't, and it was it contributed, I fully believe this, to her pancreatic cancer, which she did eventually die from. And it's something that can be prevented. We can prevent the horrific progress of these diseases that are so slow to present problems by not being so stubborn with our beliefs about what we should or shouldn't do. It's okay. It hasn't caused me a problem today. And I need this. So here's the thing. People think that the doctors told them they must take it. Fine. It's prescribed. And then the doctor will say, well, you need to take this for life. Well, I question that. Because I believe if you give your body what it needs, it will heal itself. Then the next question becomes, well, how do you know what the body needs? And that's the work that I do, reveal that. So when it comes to medication and we're taking that, it does. It's chemical. It's man-made. It goes everywhere, not just to the place where we magically think it goes. It's systemic, right? So we take something by the mouth and it goes everywhere. Well, do you remember? Just speaking briefly on menopause, there was this belief in the 90s that if you take estrogen, even if it's bioidentical, people were saying, I take bioidentical estrogen. It was causing women going through menopause to experience stroke and heart attack because we have receptors for estrogen in our heart.
Wow, yeah.
And when we take it here, it goes there as well as in our reproductive system. Whereas if our bodies make it itself, then it has a homing device, kind of like a little beacon. It says, I need it here. And so as the body produces it, it goes right where it needs to, as opposed to everywhere, causing problems. And that's the difference between using the pharmacy built in our bodies and the pharmacy that we're given. So do something. Here's my rule of thumb. If you need to take something, take it short term, and then do something else to get off of it permanently, because those side effects, oh my gosh. Another story.
Go ahead. I got all day. Bring it, lady.
The side effects of drugs, chemical drugs, whether they're street drugs or pharmacy drugs, are very real to me. And the reason I started this business many years ago, I started in September of 2011, was because as I became aware of how to repair my own vitality, my own, and by the way, I suffer from itchy skin and psoriasis too. Years and years of dealing with that autoimmune disorder, chronic fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, depression, all of those things that are irreversible according to many, I reversed them. And 2 weeks before, this was in July of 2011, two weeks before my ex-husband passed away, we were on the phone together, and he's describing his situation. And we had been divorced for 12 years. And I'd known at that time when we were married that he was a big pharmaceutical patient. He would have that the 24 by 24 area next to the sink that's usually where the phone is, that was full of medications. Okay. So for him, that was normal way of living. And every one of the not supplements, but the drugs that he was prescribed, a year later, he would be prescribed 3 more prescriptions to take care of the symptoms that first one created. So by the time I'm a hold of him, 12 years after our divorce, it's worse. He's on 17 different medications. He's got heart prolapse, hepatitis C, now diagnosed with diabetes, and has iron toxicity. So I'm listening to all of this from him. And I says, I just became certified in mineral balancing. Why don't you send me some of your hair, which is the soft tissue that I test, and we will work on this and figure it out, and we'll solve it and get you off of some of these drugs. And I'll never forget, he laughed at me and he said, nah, I'm fine. My doctors have me. I'm on medication. And 2 weeks later, I'm getting the phone call from the hospital. Your ex-husband's had a massive heart attack. He's died. We couldn't recover him. And I says, well, why was he there? Well, we were helping him with kidney stones. So they gave him something intravenously just to calm him down so they could go into an ultrasound and break up the kidney stones. And just that, his body was so depleted. This is what I mean by it's an accumulative effect, right? So his body was that depleted that it couldn't handle something to just simply calm down his nervous system so he could handle an ultrasound. And that was a wake-up call. So after dealing with that situation, his estate, our kids, getting everything organized. So from July to September, I decided this is what I need to do. I need to get out there and talk to people about alternatives to medicine.
Yes.
And how to really fortify the body, how it really works. And the education has been an uphill battle because I'm overcoming what is already out there about the belief systems about the body and medications. So.
Yeah. Now, please don't stop what you're doing, though. Oh my gosh, we need to clone you about 1,000 times and just start flooding social media with. But no, but look at this. Take a look. Now let me. You got me thinking, honestly, because I mean, my mom, God bless her. She didn't necessarily always make the right decisions in life, but she tried real hard and she had a good heart. And she was raised by what was a brittle diabetic. So that informed her outlook on nutrition, which of course informed ours. However, she was also a good rule follower in, the vein of, well, if you heard it on the Today Show, it had to be true. And whatever the new thing of the day was, that was the new breakthrough from the doctors, that was her religion, right? They wouldn't tell you these things if it wasn't true. They've got your best interest in heart. I cannot remember any time after 1975 that she ingested butter. It was all margarine. Yeah. And, and we look back now and we know the story about how margarine was invented and even the turkeys wouldn't eat it,
I should tell you something.
Right. And as a diabetic, they told her, drink Tab, drink Diet Coke, diet this, diet that, and I'd have events over at my house, and she'd walk in with her own 2 liters because I refused to buy it for her. I would supply food, anything you wanted except for Diet Pop, right? And she used to wrap her sandwiches in aluminum foil.
Yes, I grew up with that. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Now, after telling you that, can you tell me what my mother died of?
I mean, it could be a number of things that progressed from that place.
She was 5 years into Alzheimer's when she passed away.
Oh, the aluminum. Okay, yes, sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've got a lot of baby boomers too that have been those rule followers that are overtaxing the healthcare system. So the more that we can do to educate the people that are my age and younger coming up with the systems that you have in place, I think the better off America as a whole is going to be. But that's just my opinion. Now, what is the key to staying healthy with all of this stuff that's going on, included the added stress of what's going on in society, racially, with the riots and all of the chaos that's going on, that's just added onto the stress and confusion and pain of the COVID situation. What do you think is the most important thing right now to maintain our health and our immune systems?
Yeah, when we feel safe, when we feel accepted, and when we feel happy, those things supersede any other when it comes to the body's ability to heal. And from those places, it's amazing what those 3 things especially can do for your autoimmune. And when we stay in fear, when we're constantly checking news for the latest status update, when we're giving into fear mongering, going on to these media sites and arguing with people, getting out of our happiness, find a happy place. And I'm not saying ignore everything that's going on. I'm saying if you're not contributing and creating a space for better, even if it means do nothing, then you're contaminating. And that means not just you, because your ability to heal is reflected in our relationships outside of us. And so if you're finding yourself in conflict with those around you, arguing in fear with, having a difficult time dealing with, guess what? It's a reflection of your body's healing state. So the most important thing is to, as often as possible, get yourself into that place. It's so hard for me to do, so I can only imagine. And there's so many tools at my disposal, from sauna therapy to body hacking. I do what's called finger hugging. For 4 seconds, you hug each finger in turn. Just take a few minutes, and you'll feel the grounding effects that it has on the body. And each finger has a relationship to an emotion, and it grounds it and brings it from a negative place below the emotional line of equilibrium to equilibrium. And it will reground your body, and that puts you into a state of healing. So the more that we can do that consciously, the better for your immune system, for your healing, for everything. And don't forget to go all the way through. I've started, so I've got to finish now.
That is awesome. I love that technique, though. When should our audience, what would they notice that they would go, okay, this is happening, I should probably hug my digits?
It depends on how sensitive you are, self-aware. So some people who are very sensitive to their body's changes, they'll notice it because they'll feel a sensation of anxiety. It may start with a pit of the stomach. I don't feel good. This doesn't feel right. Anything that is lower. If you look at the emotional scale and the emotions that are above neutral, that's curiosity, that's interest, that it gets into, eventually you're higher and higher into joy and happiness and all that. The negative emotions, on the opposite side of the scale, those are your clue. That's your communication from your body. It says, hey, something is off a little bit. Maybe you have some energies flowing through you right now that either don't belong to you. There are somebody else's that have been, placed on you through a conversation. You had a difficult conversation, which is very easy to do these days. There's a lot of heightened emotional conversation, and we don't know what to do with it. So dispersing the energy and getting yourself at least to a neutral ground is important. If you're not the type of person who is necessarily concerned with how you're feeling, you don't check in with yourself very often. It's not a judgment. It's that sometimes extroverts are more interested in what's going on around them. Mm-hmm. And so if you notice that you're in more combative conversations, if you notice that more people around, you're snapping a lot, you're self-judgmental, really critical of things going around. Critical. Oh my gosh. Okay. Something must be going on here. Let me take a minute, breathe, do some deep breathing, do the finger hugs, maybe meditate, do some gratitude journaling. Pick something and try it for a while. I know that gratitude journaling can take 2 weeks for it to kick in. That's a long time. Whereas the finger hug, you can get an immediate response. Right. So do both. Do one then the other, and you'll notice a more sustained, accumulative effect. Right. So is there something that's most? Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. You put money into your short-term piggy bank. You put money into your long-term savings account. There's no reason why you shouldn't be, like packing your being for long-term care.
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. And the other part of this conversation I want to make sure I'm very clear about, I don't exclude Western medicine at all. It is an inclusive conversation. How can we, and this is where the benefit of working with somebody like me comes into play. A lot of us don't know how to be accumulative and inclusive with our Western medicine. We know how to use our Western medicine doctor. It's covered by insurance. Great. But if they don't have the answers, why are you barking up that tree? If the answer is you're always going to have this, that's not a good enough answer, because my body is my temple and it needs to be performing. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we can't do the work to be here in the world to make sure that we make an effect that makes what happened at Central Park never happen again. To make it so that the COVID situation never becomes this heightened to the point of ruining our economy again. Mm-hmm. If you want to be working on these very critical ideas and raising your hand and saying, how can I be a contributor? Make sure your body's fit.
Mm-hmm. Excellent stuff. Excellent. Well, do you want to take a stab at my face?
Shall we talk more about what we're doing here? Yeah.
Yes, please.
So, for the longest time, I have a book out. It's called Owning Your Beauty. Mm-hmm. And I was chasing my health as a two-prong approach. One was going to the doctor and saying, what's wrong with me? Do the blood, figure it out. And then the other was going to the medical spas and going to the massage therapist and getting my roll thing done and, everything else that I could, covering my nails because they wouldn't grow. Now they grow. Getting my hair fixed, whatever I need to do, cover up the signs of illness. I did not see them as illness. I just saw them as age, and my body wasn't doing what I wanted it to. So I was going to hammer it into place, dang it. And so these
white powder me. Forget the arsenic.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like we go get your nails done. Go get your hair when we can. In LA, we still can't. We're not able to do that yet.
Here. Yeah, this is not looking good here. Thank God I was blonde before all this white hair came in.
It blends better. Yes.
It does.
So I started to study something. I was turned on by a friend, a colleague, a fellow shaman. And he says to me, he goes, let me read your face. And I go, read my face? What are you talking about? And he's like, I can see what's going on, whether or not you hold on to emotion. If you what's going on with your liver can be seen. Your nose gives you a story about your heart. All these different features in your face can reveal what's going on with your organs, how well they're functioning. And it's a snapshot. It's different than the hair analysis, because the hair analysis gives you a period of time over 30 days. But the face reading can give you am I taking care of myself or not? So.
Oh my goodness. Well, at least you put in a disclaimer for this quarantine.
Absolutely. Well, and I want to preface all of this with The quarantine, yes, has created such a state of stress in all of us that we, like the frog story. You've got frogs in, it's a terrible story when you think about it, but they're all in the bucket of water, and then you turn on the heat and they slowly get warm until they cook.
Mm-hmm.
The frogs never notice the change,
Right.
because it's so gradual and they're used to it to the point until eventually they die in the hot water. But the same is true for stress with human beings. And so as we're all getting used to this constant state of stress, what now? We're expecting it. What new hell are we going to be exposed to today?
Yes.
It's a state of stress, and it's going to have an effect on you, if not immediately, accumulatively. And it does show up in our bodies. Mm-hmm. And here we can read it on the face. So
all right. Yeah, I have to confess that I was very, very good before this started. And then we got into lockdown. And the only excuse that I could come up with, to get out of the house was to go someplace and eat and pick up fast food. And then because I've picked up fast food, I drank the pop. Oh, that was like the addiction beast was loose again. And now I've got like red vines in the pantry and 3 different kinds of ice cream in my freezer. And yeah, so with that said, go ahead. What do you want to look at here?
Take off your glasses.
Okay.
Yeah. And it looks like you're wearing some lipstick, so I'm guessing you have eyeliner and stuff going on. Mm-hmm. So we won't be able to get a clear shot. And you're a little bit far away. Maybe you can get just a little bit closer. It's going to feel freaky and a little bit vulnerable.
What can I do for you?
Okay, very good. So, and your eyebrows are so light. You are totally blonde, that's for sure. So let's see. It doesn't look like you hold on to anger for very long, if ever. And then your eyebrows go all the way to the corner, which is really good for your thyroid. That means it's functioning well. A little bit, I don't have it too, a little bit of puffiness here between the eyelid and the eyebrow relates to the liver. So there may be some backup, like the liver is holding on to some accumulative toxins, things like that. The little bit of puffiness under the eye. Does it feel any dryness there? Do you feel any dryness there before you moisturize?
No. I mean, I do put oil there just because it's got crepey wrinkles, but not necessarily dryness.
Okay, crepey wrinkles. All right. So if it were also to be dark, a lot of people think Mediterraneans, I'm Italian, so they're like, oh, you should have dark circles under your eyes because it's normal. You don't have dark circles. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you cover that up because of with makeup or anything. Mm-hmm. But that said, the puffiness under the eye has to do with the kidneys. So this is a kidney stressor. It could be from the soda pop. But if you've had it for
it's most likely that I'm dehydrated, and my kidneys are probably the weakest organ of my particular system. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that'll do it. And then the waterline underneath, if it were puffy, and I can't tell that it is, I don't think that it is. If it were to go all the way around the eye, that would be spleen related, and I don't see that. So I don't see any spleen issues. Awesome. The nose, I'm not sure color wise, the color of the skin matters. So if your nose has any change of color to it than the rest of your face, that would mean there's heart issues, either oxygen getting to the heart or circulatory system that brings the blood to the heart. I can't tell unless it looks uniform right now, so I'd say good to go.
Usually it's a little red and pink right around in here.
Okay, that's vascular system. So, and that's very common, by the way. So vascular system can be improved with more cardio and things like that, and deep breathing exercises. Those two things together work well. Of course, when you're working cardio and you're running, you're getting your heart rate up, you're breathing more heavily. But a lot of people breathe up here rather than into their system. So make sure that you spend some time into the base of your diaphragm. Okay. And then these lines, these here, they're purpose lines.
Really?
Yeah. So that tells me that you're doing what you're meant to do.
Awesome. So how would you know that I wasn't doing what I meant to do?
People who are not working, it what do you call it? It flattens out. People who haven't developed these lines here yet, the smile lines.
See these lines, right?
These lines here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They're marionette lines, if you will. Mine aren't very deep, but I have a lot of cushion.
Gotcha.
So
I'm like, I can't see what she's talking about.
yeah, if there are things that we can tell by looking at the eyebrow, the color of the hair coming in, the length of the eyebrow. A lot of people's eyebrows stop here and don't go all the way to the corner. They
Okay.
should draw a line from the edge of the nose through the edge of the eye all the way to the edge of the eyebrow, and that indicates that the thyroid is functioning better.
And what if you only have like half of an eyebrow? I'm asking
Yeah,
because my daughter does.
yeah. If they don't grow in completely, then there's some sort of nutritional imbalance. I'll go with that, mineral imbalance. And here's the amazing thing that I see in the work that I do. Your immune system is directly related to your ability to procreate, right? So the reproductive system is related to your immune system. And I think that's something that we intuitively know. Straight men are attracted to women who have the long flowing hair, because long flowing hair means that you have a body that can support a life, and get pregnant, and it's nutrition. So it's something that is subconscious, that somehow is built into our sexual DNA, that is now being backed up by science. Like, oh, I didn't realize it.
Yeah,
So
and that makes sense. I've heard where people got so skinny that they stopped menstruating and they couldn't conceive, and then they got fat and happy and knocked up.
Yeah, happiness. Yeah, the fat and happy and the happiness. Well, not too fat, hopefully, but because that if you gain too much weight, you'll have the same problem. Right, but I was infertile. I was told I was infertile at the age of 22, and reversed it. I went through menopause at 28.
Wow.
Yeah, and by the time I was 36 is when I found this. So I was in a state of search for 16 years, trying to find an answer to all of my problems, and discovered that for women, the most important element in our reproductive system is copper. For men, zinc. They're very highly used appropriately for each of the sexes. And it doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, or anywhere in between on the rainbow. It's just if you're in a female body, your female body needs, that copper is very important to your reproductive system. If it's out of balance, you'll end up with things like hypothyroidism or PCOS, or eventually early onset menopause, the perimenopause, like I did, or being told you're infertile. It is not normal or regular to be irregular while you are in childbearing years. So I listened to too many doctors telling me, oh, Eva, that's just normal. You're going through a lot. You got a lot of stress in your life. You just went through a divorce. You just went through a move. You just went through a job change. And I went, time out. Everybody has stresses. What's the deal? And at the same time, I'm being told you have autoimmune. So in my work, I know that when the zinc to copper ratio, the two results side by side together, if it's off, it's usually it relates to your immune system. So it does, regardless, that's the correct way to use that, regardless.
Thank you.
Of a masculine or feminine body, your copper to zinc ratio, if it is out, your immune system is out. And if those are out, that can lead to not just those heavier hitting issues that I talked about. It can also relate to, zinc is directly related to skin issues, including psoriasis, acne, your hair being able to grow in the right color and in the right places. I was starting to thin out and go gray at the top of my head at the age of 20. And no one told me it was related to thyroid.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning quite a lot actually in this conversation. I never knew about the copper and the zinc thing, for one thing. And it begs the question, honestly, if you are a person who does the transition from male to female, how does that impact the recipe? Does that need for zinc go away and replaced with a higher need for copper? No?
No, so here's the thing. Anytime we surgically change the body, there's also, this is where I get very metaphysical and woo-woo, there's going to be a change in consciousness. Consciousness is what holds our space in our body. So your body's going to, as you take the hormone drugs, as you take, it's going to shift. Will you get there to 100%? Probably not. but you can stay in the place where you want to stay, where you believe your body is. A lot of people will say to me, oh, I feel like a woman inside, I want to be a woman, but they were born in a man's body. I've had those conversations, and it's not one that I can personally relate to, because I definitely identify as a female in a feminine body. I'm as straight as Chinese hair. It's like there's no I'm not on the spectrum.
Gotcha.
So I can't relate, but I have family members and friends who can, and I had to come to a place of understanding. Yes, it is directly proportioned in. I can see it on hair tests. You can see what's going on, but there's a normal for them that is different than the normal for me. So I'll just say that.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, interesting stuff. Yeah. All right, my dear. We are inviting our audience today to reach out to you first of all, through the bit.ly link that is in the scrolling ticket, for everybody to submit a selfie and get their own face reading. I promise it was painful. Not
you were
painful.
Very brave.
Thank you.
Can I say? Yeah, very brave. Most people are like, oh, Eva, here's my picture, no makeup, delete it when we're done. Yeah.
No, I'm just sitting here going, I wonder how many people realize how much I drink now. No, kidding. And I am, right? It's like, yeah, okay. We're going back to the sunglasses for a while. No, do you remember the First Wives Club? There is a character in that played by Goldie Hawn that, when she's out in public in the morning, she's got these huge sunglasses on. And every morning she's on the treadmill for an hour to undo the fifth of vodka from the night before. It's just, I'm like, my spirit child. Just kidding. Anyway.
I used to go hiking up here. There's something here in Culver City called the Culver Stairs, and it's stairs made of concrete that's been recycled, basically up a hillside. And I would go with a friend of mine, and after we were done, she's like, okay, so now I can afford to go to McDonald's and get my shake. That is not why we work out.
Right. I totally 100%. I do have one follow-up question from that, though. And you talked about, like the vascular issues and stuff like that. I have been getting this, it's not really a carpal tunnel thing. I used to get it when I was in the last 6 weeks to 2 months of my pregnancies, where I'll get this tingling that goes down into my hand and all the way through my middle finger. And the last couple of days it's been really bad, and I'm looking at my shoulder going, okay, is something out of alignment? Do I have a pinched nerve? Is it not enough blood flow getting there? Why isn't it happening in my left hand too? So what are your insights as far as that? I know you're not a medical doctor and you can't diagnose anything, but what do you, is that something that you sometimes see with what you recognized in my face?
Well, it can. I may not be fully versed in face reading for that in particular. I do know that if this is red, then the vascular is part of the issue. If you've got psoriasis, then the zinc imbalance that we were talking about, zinc to copper, that can irritate the circulatory system, and it can even make you more easily bruising. So if a person bruises really easily, that's a zinc imbalance flag. You too. Okay, so we got some work to do together. Yeah. Now, if it was happening on both sides, I would say that it's muscular and that something's pinching off the circulation up here. But it could just be a one side of the cervical spine, and I'm not a doctor, like you said. I'm just thinking it could be an inflamed disc that is pinching off, the nerve and causing that vascular situation going on.
Gotcha.
But because if it was circulatory in nature, like the whole circulatory system, your legs would be tingling as well as both fingertips, all of them. It sounds more like something going on in the neck.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've been moving things around for quite a while. Awesome. I absolutely adore you and the work that you're doing. Thank you so much for what you're contributing to the true health of the planet. And if there's anything that I can do to support that, please let me know.
This was perfect. I appreciate so much the share and getting to speak with everybody who's here and have this conversation. So many thanks.
Awesome. We have a couple of comments from Joanne Berry. I will give her the link to submit the selfie, and she also said, some people do work out just so they can eat whatever they want. She says, I've experienced a lot in my 20 years as a personal trainer, but it can also be metaphysical, she adds, and that's so true as well. Do you have any final thoughts before we send people off to the rest of their lives today?
I love to say this one thing as a reminder. You are the only one who lives in your body, in your skin. So if something feels off, most likely it is. Do not let anybody else tell you it's all in your head because it will stop you from getting to your best self. So get the help that you need, wherever that is, and continue to listen to yourself first.
Phenomenal. Thank you again, Eva. Take care and have a fantastic rest of your week.
Thanks, you too.
When you open yourself up to actual energy work, makes that recovery progress so much faster. That recovery is possible. You do not have to live as a victim until your last days. You have unbelievable strength, and I know that because you're still here. Do you want to create something completely unrecognizable with your life? I can show you how.